welcome back to another Re-Education Experience podcast. I'm your host, as always, Darren Langille. Um, we have been going through a lot. We've been going through the season of exploring a ton of my frameworks, how to build your business by design. That's my whole goal with this podcast. Through the 7 C's, the success triangle, the core 4, the plus 4, the every realtor's plan, on and on and on. And then lately, we've been going through what I call looking through this business through the lens of building your business by design as of the who, meaning the different realtor avatars that you should pick and pick a lane to work within. We talked about creators these last few. These last few interviews have been creator based, basically because I'm not the one to best explain this stuff. Agents who have led via their content and their story. But today I wanted to zoom in on a very specific version because we've already covered 2 different ones with both Jesse and Noel. The version of the creator avatar that I say is the creator who becomes the operator and is a media complete machine. My guest today is one of the best examples in the industry that I can think of, and I'm happy to have him on. He started in real estate back in 2003, 2004 in Detroit. Ran that business for quite a while successfully up to a team. And then he transitioned over to Orlando in 2016 and he rebuilt his business from scratch, which I know a lot of us would be like, oh, that's tough to do. Today, he now leads the Pozek Group, one of Central Florida's most trusted and recognized real estate teams with over 2,500 buyers and sellers to date, a media-driven model that he operates that has him on track for 400-500 million in volume, somewhere around 600 deals per year with his group of 31 agents. He also runs what he now called the Orlando Reel and a YouTube ecosystem that helps people discover Orlando's neighborhoods, theme parks, local news, not just listings. His channel generates generally 400-ish YouTube leads per month, which is insanity, just by educating and entertaining people about life in Orlando. All right, Ken, it's time to welcome you to the show.
Man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're a busy man. I gave you a huge intro, and we got to live this out somehow. All right,
All
so
right, sounds good.
I want to set the angle, okay? Um, Here's what I want to unpack, and what I'm thinking that the creator avatar that I defined in the introduction listening. Number one, how a creator thinks about their city, right? The way that you've turned Orlando into this character, it seems almost like
Mhm.
a niche for you. Super neat. Most people could never pull it off, but they don't know the roadmap either. Number two, I want to kind of explore how we've built this media machine. Just like how does the machine run? Not just like a solo creator, because a lot of us are, right? Solo creators or attempt to be, but is this monster team leader that's translated it to more than just you? And then maybe if we have time, a little bit of the architect behind the back end, right? So in the intro I mentioned 400-ish YouTube leads, a zillion buyers and sellers, a month can come from YouTube. How does this turn into closings, into your
Yeah,
list building, into the business? Because a lot of people haven't figured out how to maybe monetize views into leads and then of course into business. So that's kind of where I want to go. How does that sound?
sounds great, man. Let's roll.
Sweet. So let's start maybe with the why. The why and the initial move. And I hinted in the intro about your transition over to Orlando and you started scratch, right? You'd
Mhm.
done a ton of business back in your own hometown and you started from scratch in this new one. You've been in the business, is it right about a decade-ish before you even moved?
Yeah, we got in 2003, and then we moved here in 2016. So was doing it for, I started as an appraiser and flipping houses and kind of like all the ancillary stuff, not selling real estate, but in real estate, if you will.
Yeah.
A little bit of mortgage, a little bit of everything. And then in 2007, I got in real estate full time. And then from 2007 to 2016, we built a small team. Like I had one assistant, 2 buyers agents, and myself, and we were selling 120 homes a year, and up in Detroit, Michigan. And it was like this time, actually, back in, I guess it was 2015. My wife and I were like, let's escape Detroit to go to Florida for a few days and leave the kids behind and just warm up. And that was when we made the decision. It was time to move to Florida.
That decision, not only because, like, of course, chasing beaches and the weather and maybe Disney. I don't know if you were a
Yeah.
Disney freak back then or not,
Yeah.
but but like you'd done a decade in this business. What
Yeah.
compelled you to believe you could restart? Like that feels scary to me.
It was very scary. And honestly, 2016 was our first like great like breakout, what I would consider breakout year. It was our first $1 million in GCI year, at least in terms of gross, right? I was making more money than I ever made. And I just realized, looked at it around, I was like, I'm 30, my kids are young, and if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it till I'm in my 60s. And why wait? And you never know, like we're never granted tomorrow. And so my wife and I are like, this is going to be hard, but I think it would be a worthwhile endeavor. And I was right on both accounts. It was very hard and it was very worthwhile.
Was it that point in time where, in my research, you speak to a lot of this, that you were tired of traditional lead gen? I mean,
Mm.
the cold calling, the door knocking, all of those things. Was it in that transition that you also had this like, I don't want to do that anymore, or did that come a little bit later, right? That there's
That
got
was,
to be a better way, and then that's the YouTube vision.
yeah, that was maybe a year, 18 months later. It was kind of, yeah, gosh, I was doing the open houses, door knocking, expired calls for sale by owners, farming, just everything old school, quote old school. That means still works today. But I was doing all that in Detroit. That's how I was getting all of my business. And then transitioned here and I just picked it right back up. I'm like, all right, well, there's still expireds here in Orlando. There's still for sale by owners. There's still open houses that work. There's still networking events that work. And so I did all of that for a good 18 months or so. And then in late 2017, early 2018, another real agent, Josh Rogers, reached out and was at the time different. We were both different brokerages, but he's like, "Hey, hey man, like, have you ever thought about doing YouTube?" And I was like, "No, I'm never gonna. Like, that sounds horrible. I don't want to put my face on video. YouTube's not at the time wasn't really there wasn't a lot of agents doing it, and it was I went you go to YouTube to figure out how to change your oil or change a tire, not how to get clients." And so, but he convinced me to give it a go. And after my first five or six, I'm like, dang, this could actually be something. And so we put out like 100 videos in 100 days, all on my cell phone, editing it myself. And at the end of those 3 months or so, I got my first call. And I was like, oh shoot, no, this actually is could be something. And so pivoted the kind of style videos that I was doing, which was all builder tours, to more like top 5 lists, top 10 lists, moving to lists, and that kind of thing. And yeah, man, look up 7 years later, we've put out thousands of pieces of content and kind of built the machine that we have.
Tell me about that. You mentioned something there. You decided to go on this bet on YouTube, but you also could have gone like cranked up Google ads or
Mhm.
bought online leads, and you chose the content marketing, but
Yeah.
super early educational, like the neighborhoods, the top fives. Was there just something? Was it just because you felt there was a gap there? Were you really good at media in the past? Like, do you come from a communications background? Like, I mean, that's not everybody's willing to do that.
Not at all, man. I just, I couldn't land an HGTV show, so this seemed like the closest secondary one. And then I realized that very quickly that I could figure out, you're talking about avatars of agents. Well, I could figure out avatars of my clients that if I put out content for them, that it would attract my ideal client. So by the way, I'm still doing, at the time, till 2018, I'm still, I'm shooting content in the morning, going on appointments and or still prospecting for sale by owners and expires and door knocking midday, going to see my family, having dinner, and then putting the kids to bed, and then editing between like 10 and midnight, and then do it again the next day. And then I did that for months and months and months, before we had our first closing, which then allowed me to scale and start hiring other people. And so it was still very proof of concept for the first, I would call it 2 years, until I really started figuring out like, oh, not only could I just get a few leads and a few deals from YouTube, but I could grow something that's way bigger than that. And so I wish I could say I was smart enough to figure out that like this is the path that I wanted to go on, but it's been very much so like sequentially brick after brick.
Totally. You said also, did you say 100 videos in 100 days?
I did, yeah.
I mean, a lot of times when people say, well, you got to post a social media post every day, and that freaks people out. But 100 videos in 100 days is a whole nother workflow and body of work. And that prior to that, had you done any?
No, I literally well used YouTube to figure out how to use iMovie, which is like that free version on. And then I was like, all right, well, I still, I'm not making any cash. I'm very into lead with revenue and red light, green light. And so like are there free sound like background sound I could use? Free, like what could I do that's free? And so it was like iMovie was free. Epidemic Sound was like $9 a month. I ended up figuring that out just to get some background music, and it was just me editing, and it was not great. Most I would say I think probably 90% of our videos are still up on the channel. So if anybody wants to go check it out, they could just cycle back and see how not great they were.
Totally, man. On a personal level, to get through that 100, and you said you're 3 months is 4 months away from a closing around that. I mean, so that would have been the full cycle, basically, the
Mhm.
full 100 days, before you saw that. What kept you consistently hitting record? Because I know so many agents finally get up to do it, set up their video, look at your stuff, and be like, okay, I got to do one, and then it's like one a week, one every 2 weeks, a couple of views
Yeah.
here and there, but then they're like, I'm done. I got to go back to open houses.
Yeah, I think I could just see it working. They're like I'd get a few more views every video. It went from 10 views to 20 views to 25 views. I'm like, people are watching, and it's not just my mom. It's it's other people watching. And so that was some of the initial stuff. And then I could also see, Josh had told me, hey man, just keep going because I promise you I'm getting like a lead a week right now. And in my mind, like a lead a week felt like it would be massive for my business. If I got a lead a week and then that turned into one a month and I could sell 10 houses a year from YouTube and also do something I enjoy, that would be a pretty cool pillar. I could still keep doing open houses and Sphere and agent referrals. And then that first call from, it was actually a couple in the UK. I'll remember like it was yesterday. It was like they specifically called about this one video that I did, and they were like, "Hey, we want to move to Celebration. You seem super well versed. We have a budget of $700,000. We're cash buyers. We're coming over in 3 weeks. Can you meet with us?" And I was like, "Man, game on! Like now I have proof of concept. Not just another agent tell me that it works, but like it worked for me." And then it became this gamification of how do I make my videos better? How can I make them more? How do I, like is one a week enough? Should it be two? How do I diversify? Like it's this constant you versus you that really has attracted me to content. The views are great, the money's great, the accolades are fine. Like that's not why I do it. It's simply just that I love figuring this stuff out.
Okay. So, you know what I mean? Like some people are like born, like you show into the room and they're the loudest person, they're the funniest person, right? Some people born right into creator mode where like just that's just the lane they should pick.
Yeah.
When you look back, do you see yourself as a creator that was in real estate and just somehow finally found your voice, or do you find you were a realtor who then discovered that you were a creator and loved it and kind of grew into that?
Yeah, I mean, I had this like passion for photography. That's the only creative thing that I had ever done in my life, and so I would go to the theme parks late at night and get cool shots. Or so I kind of enjoyed like composition and that sort of. But I did nothing with video before ever, and so it was kind of this new thing to tackle. I did feel very often that the cold calling never was me. Although I had a decent amount of success, it just never felt like, oh, this is what I should be doing. I should, I said, I like figuring stuff out. I never thought to myself, like, I want to be the best closer on the phone. Like that never crossed my mind. It was like, I'm going to do this because this is what you have to do as a real estate agent. And I don't know anything else other than high school before this. And so, when I was able to figure out, oh, I can actually pair something like content with something that I do for my vocation as well, that's when it became very addicting.
Very cool. I like that thing you said. You had this like innate want to just do it a little bit better, not just for more views, not just for another lead. Did you find that lead that came in and ever since has been like of a quality status from a lead flow when they are coming through your YouTube? Are they pretty much set on Ken already? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's every once in a while we get somebody who might be shopping multiple agents. No, but for the most part, it's no, we've watched your videos for multiple years. We want to buy. And sometimes it's, they're 2, 3, 4 years out. And then that becomes, okay, now you need, that's how our newsletter was born because I'm like, okay, well, I've got these people reaching out. only 10 to 20% of them are buying right now or selling right now. What do I do with the other 80%? And so, but yeah, I like to say if your grandpa or grandma warmed up a lead and handed it to you, that's what it feels like because they've already gushed over you and they're just ready to do something. It's like for me, my favorite type of lead.
Makes sense. Now, do you decide, like, would you define yourself as a creator agent? What do you mean? Like, how do you define media driven? I've seen these things. How do you define yourself and how the business builds?
How do I define myself?
Yeah. Like, how do you define, like, I'm calling you a creator, right?
Mhm.
And what does that really, what does that sink in? Does that sound like right for you?
Yeah, I feel like yeah, because we have so many other verticals that it goes through, but again, it comes back to content. So I think, yeah, content creator is probably the number one piece. I'm trying to come up with a better word for somebody who just cares about their community, but that's where I've kind of pivoted now, where I want to see my city become everything that it can be and telling the story of Orlando and of like Greater Orlando, the jobs that are here, the things that are to do, the community in itself is something I'm passionate about. So storyteller would be the other one that I would throw out there.
I love it. And that's kind of, is that where Orlando Real kind of got birthed in the sense that like,
Yeah. So Orlando Reel's like our media company, and that started as just more of an Instagram slash new like email newsletter to, we've all had clients before that come in and buy, but how do you stay relevant in their life between that 7 to 10 years when they buy and then they want to come back around to sell? Most agents send them postcards and maybe do client parties or pie pickups around the holiday or apple pie recipes, like all the old school stuff that we've heard for years that heck, I mean, it works. There's obviously people that have built big businesses off of it. But I thought, what if I could create this media company that, or outlet that people could stay in depth with what their community, like what's the new restaurant, what's the new development, what's the new event that's going on, who's hiring, who's laying off, who, like, and kind of keep it from this idea of I want you to know where you live better, and I want to be the curator of that content. And hopefully, if I stay in your life enough between the time you buy and the time you sell, you'll be thinking of me as like you're the only real estate option. And now that we've been doing it for 7 years, it has totally come exactly true. Like it's our past clients in our sphere and our referrals continue to climb every year. And so people are coming back around and using us. And then it just kind of spurred this whole other thing where now we have agent referrals more than ever because I'm the only one that they can think of when they think of Orlando. And it's just kind of taken on its own life, which has been a lot of fun.
so placing the city as the main character, not you, massive change because so many agents are it's about me, me, me.
Yeah.
But then there's this, is there a moment or was there a moment of like imposter? Should be like, who am I to be the one that messages Orlando and takes control? Like that, does that ring a bell or how did you get past that if there was such a thing?
Yeah, it does. It does ring a bell. I feel like I still feel that now, even though I feel like, I didn't say it when people think of Ken, they think of Orlando. I said if they think of Orlando, they think of Ken and Mickey Mouse. And so like I just want to be part of the conversation. And now that we've interviewed the mayor, multiple mayors, and a lot of politicians and business owners and people that are way more successful than I am, it's cool to hear them say like, "Hey, thanks for putting Orlando on the map one way or the other." And that's just never something I really set out to do, but it's like super big honor. And so I'm just now working really hard to keep it to keep that piece of my life, if you will.
Has anybody said no?
When I ask them to be on the podcast or something.
Yeah, because you've gone bigger and bigger, right? And we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I've got, US state rep coming on in January. That's probably like the biggest, you know, but no, we've got some really big influencers that are scheduled for the pod next year. So far, if I've had a conversation with them, they've said yes. Sometimes, getting through gatekeepers is tough. That's the only time that, people might say no. The cool thing is like more reach and more views do beget more opportunities. And so yes, it's buying and selling real estate. We've also, created a mortgage company now. We just launched a title company last month. And So those opportunities continue to build. But yeah, it's interesting. So at this point, because we're so well known in Orlando, that really anybody I reach out to, they're like, "Oh my God, I love your content. Like, hey, do you want to come on the pod?" Absolutely. And that's been a pretty cool door opener.
100%. So if you could boil down your content pillars, what are the things you come back to? Do you have like a three, four, five of them? Like, can you give us a quick little like, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to be omnipresent. So YouTube's number one by far and away. The most important thing I do every week is a YouTube show on Thursday nights. I go from 7 to 8. I usually have a couple hundred people show up to watch live, and then we cut that up into shorts and reels for TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Then we also pull that audio from the live show and put it on Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are available. And then we write blogs behind it and it goes into our email newsletter and that goes out. And so, we chop till we drop is what we say. So it's like, we shoot one piece of content and then chop it up into 10 to 15 different pieces of content. That's the most important thing that I do all week. And then, we've created a whole media staff now that helps me kind of put all that together.
Totally. So would it be, is it like always trying to find like a latest in Orlando, or is it like something Disney every week? Or like, is there like, or is it just like we're gonna take it all because we really do handle it all?
Yeah, it really is all. So it never comes like I usually wear a Pozek Group shirt and I always talk about my real estate team and I and when we're here in Orlando. So I know there's just like bent where and I'm partly part of the problem, like creating this, but it's a lot of real estate agents are telling the news, but forgetting to tell people that they're real estate agents. And so they have really big followings, but no business. And so having a funnel where it's, hey, by the way, like if you're interested in this development or you're interested in JP Morgan, who just had 1,000 new jobs in our area, here's what that means to people that live in Lake Mary. And Lake Mary is like this beautiful town, gated neighborhoods and that sort of thing. Here's what I think it's going to do to home values in that area. And so again, telling the news, yes, but then coming back around to as a real estate agent, here's what I think this means for the area.
Gotcha.
And that positioning play, and then also having the follow up afterwards, I think is what differentiates myself for other creators out there.
How big would your email list have been now that you've driven and towards this newsletter? What do you call a newsletter?
Newsletter still, yeah, it's still an email newsletter. It's called the Orlando Real newsletter. So we've got like 50,000 people that get it now.
Amazing. And then like on a per video basis or a per month, are you seeing that just organically just continue to grow? Like it's just
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. I mean, my YouTube channel continues to grow. I think I've got 65,000 people or so now. Um, and some months we get, two or 300,000 views. Other times it drops to 140,000 views. Some of my videos have gotten millions of views. Other ones have gotten 5,000, right? It's just that repetition, time on task over time is like one of the most powerful things in anything we do.
so we always hear like metric vanity metrics don't matter. So what metrics are you chasing now out of all the things that you could? Is it watch time? Is it leads from video? Is it added to my newsletter? Is it uh like what is it? Like which ones make sense to say this one hit and we're going in the right direction? Oh shoot, I missed the mark.
Yeah. I mean, closings are really all that matters to me. I think it's I could go backwards and find the metrics and figure out like, and we do. It's like, but it's so hard at this point because so many people binge watch our videos. Oh, I've been watching you for years. It's not one video that pops off and then, gets, you get a million views and you get 100 leads. It doesn't work that way. It's literally folks that say, I was interested in Orlando or maybe moving there one day. I subscribed to you. I was one of your first subscribers back in 2020 or 2018 and now I'm looking to move. And so it is that bulk of work that is working for me. Like right now is the holiday season. I'm going to go one more live this Thursday, and then I'll be off until the first Thursday of January. So we're shooting this right now, right before Christmas, and so I'll be off, no content essentially for 3 weeks. We've kind of batch shot some old stuff, and we'll filter in where we can. But that's still working for me over the holidays. Like I'm with my family, I'm on vacation, I'm not shooting new content, and yet my bulk of that machine that we've built is going to be continuing to prospect for me while I'm able to go off and enjoy my family. So I think that's a pretty cool thing.
So how far ahead are you on release then right now? Like how far ahead are you
On
typically?
the On the main channel, we stay like 1 or 2 weeks ahead because we do try to talk a little bit more about like more relevant stuff coming to the area. I go back and still do like the top 5 areas or top 3 things or whatever when I need to bulk shoot for the future. But no, we try to stay as early and relevant as possible.
That'd be one of the challenges for someone who wanted to adopt this style is to stay relevant and the timeliness around that so that you can really never get too far ahead because you got to be Johnny on the spot, right?
Many times, yeah.
Cool. So ideas, who's finding them in your group and teeing them up for you? Is it you on the front end still, which it used to be? Or is it others curating you guys things and like siphoning them which ones we should talk about, Ken, because you've got a whole team. I'd love to know because a lot of agents get stuck right there.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to when it was just me, and then I'll tell you what we're doing now. So when it was just me, I would literally on Wednesdays, I would have a 90-minute time block on my calendar, and just every I would have lunch with myself from 11 to 12:30, and I would just go through Google Alerts, and I would type in Orlando, Florida, Florida, Winter Garden, Florida, Winter Garden or Windermere in the news tab. There's other, you could use news aggregators could also do this for you, but I just found this was really easy for me. And then I would have a Word doc open and I would just copy and paste URLs, like articles I would find and say, okay, here's the 12 things that I want to talk about on my live show on Thursday night. And then that was it. I did that for years. And now I have a communications director and a full-time staff writer. And they both help me cultivate that list as well. They probably get me 75 or 80% of the things I'm going to talk about on the show in that Word doc for me. And then I'll still peruse and, things that I see, I'll send to them to put on the list. But now I don't have to spend that 90 minutes on Wednesday anymore. I can just show up kind of right before the show and go through what I need to do.
But yeah, that intentional time. I know I speak to some like social media guys, and again, it's just when they made the switch and they flipped it, they finally dedicated that time where it just doesn't. It's not supposed to just show up in our minds and you go right. It's got to be planned through. So
Yeah.
awesome. So I mean, you used to edit, now you don't. You used to create thumbnails, now you don't. But again, that process, I would assume, would this be fair to say, without a team today, you would still be way better off in today's AI world than if you were doing this back then. Like the ability for one of us to be a solo creator and create a rhythm and not have a super team like you today this is like God's gift to creators, is it not?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a shortcut, and like, it makes you just better at what you do, and hopefully reduces some fatigue. I mean, creator fatigue is a real thing. The fact that I tell people that you need to put out a new video a week forever sounds very daunting for people because they're like, well, what if I get sick or what if I want to go on vacation? Well, there's ways to get around some of that. That's what batch shooting's for, and kind of working a couple weeks in advance are. But being able to do the same thing every week and show up with energy and effort and want to grow. I've been doing it now again for 7 or 8 years. Even now, sometimes I get there on Thursday or I'm getting ready to shoot with my videographer and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And yet I do because I know that it is time on task over time, not when I feel like it. And so, yeah, just I think AI right now allows you to be a little bit quicker and, hopefully shortcut through some research and that sort of thing.
Okay, you're at the epitome of media creation now. Can you just quickly tell us who do you have on the team? Just so that we can see where you could take this in the event that you
Yeah.
fall in love with what you hear from Ken here.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have we have 3 videographers on staff. One is me for my personal brand, one is for Pozek Group brand, and the other one's for both Orlando Reel and Pozek Group. Then we have, and they all are filming and editing. And then we have a short form editor. He's the one that cuts down my show every week. And so he's putting out 10 to 15 pieces of short form content a week. I have a staff writer, Jim. He used to work for the Orlando Sentinel and Orlando Business Journal. So this guy's got like decades of wild experience of research and development. He's on staff now and he helps us with our newsletter and finding stories, and he's fantastic. Caroline is our comms director, so she basically goes through PR inquiries and all these people that are asking us to cover different things. She's also responding to comments and making sure the whole machine doesn't break. And then Spencer's what we call our systems engineer. He's helping with CRM and newsletter and farming and all the back end systems. So Oh, and then we've got a graphics designer, Marcos. So, and he's incredible at what he does. So thumbnails, carousels on Instagram, collaterals for the team. He does a little bit of the media, a little bit of the real estate as well. So let's see, that's four people, five, seven people on staff for the media machine.
Do you share the payroll on it?
Would
You
I
don't?
share it? No, but it's not a small number.
No, no. Amazing. Well, that's
But here's
great.
the cool thing, like we don't do Zillow, which they take 25 to 40%. We don't do realtor.com. We're like almost all of our business is from the content machine that we've created. So from a P&L perspective, it still works out better than any of
So,
those.
and you're in full control, right? This is your
We are.
baby. The
We are.
team, how does the team layer into this? Because your face is everywhere.
Mhm.
Is there any difficulty transitioning to the team where it's like, no, of course, it's not going to be Ken walking you through this listing? Or is it just so big now that it's just the assumption is that, of course, it's not Ken, and that type of world, because not everyone's going to be, how many team agents do you have now?
32.
Yeah. So, I mean, the average person listening that is doing YouTube might have one or two
Yeah.
agents, and they got to transition that off. Any thoughts that you can guide them on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, 2020, I've transitioned, it's all vernacular and how you put it out for what you're projecting is what you're going to get back. And so in 2020, I transitioned all my content to say my team and I. Like I wanted to make it way more about my team and less about me. Like personally, I try to come off because I am inside. Like it literally our team motto. It says back there, it's hungry, humble, social, and curious. I try to lead with being humble. I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the team. And so when people reach out, they kind of know already, like we're working with a team. And so my ISA is when people reach out, they'll say like, "Hey, I watched Ken on YouTube. Or I watched Ken on Instagram or TikTok, wherever they find us." And it's like I would say the great majority of them know that they're going to work with somebody on the team and not me. And then if there are some people that do think they're going to work with me still, and I do, I mean, I still sell 20 or 30 houses a year personally, just not as many as I used to. The ISA will say, "Oh my gosh, tell me a little bit more about where you're looking to buy." And they're like, "Well, we're looking to buy in Lake Nona." "Oh gosh, what about Lake Nona is exciting to you?" "Well, we like it's newer and we're going to be working to the hospital." "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." You know who I think Ken would really want you to work with is Kim, because Kim lives in Lake Nona. She's our Lake Nona specialist. When would be the best time for Kim to reach out? And usually that squashes it. They're like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna be working with Ken." Well, Kim is Ken's partner, and she helps Ken take care of Lake Nona. She's on the team, they're partners, that kind of thing. And so it's all about like the framing of it, so where the client knows that they're going to get taken care of better than if they're working with me.
I love that you shared that because it's something I get asked a lot when agents are just building their first bit of team and they're having a struggle to transition, whether they're creator type like you and your face is everywhere, or they've just had a really good long-term sphere of influence relationship. And that transition is really just, it's whatever you want to share. It's
Hmm.
whatever direction you want to take it. And you
Yep.
smooth that out beautifully. I would even say probably harder just, in the normal
Mhm.
world versus a creator like you, who it is like you're the star, the legit star,
Sure.
which is different than just, oh, that was my realtor last time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 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 I think, yeah, using things like, we also transition instead of like my buyer's agent or, my agent on my team, they're my partner. And yeah, like we literally share commissions. So they're my partner. When they succeed, I succeed and vice versa. And so, for whatever reason, I think that change is also very different in the mind of the consumer.
gotcha. So the show goes out Thursday. So is that the one piece, like from a long form that goes out per week, or is there others?
So I typically do two a week on my main channel, one a week on the Pozek Group channel, and then maybe two or three a month on the Orlando Real channel. So on my personal channel, it's one like shot out in the field with my videographer, and then the second one is Thursdays. So we're typically posting on like Monday or Tuesday, the more formatted, flashy version of our videos, and then Thursday we go live.
Crazy. Okay. And then so your time now to prepare and to be the head and to be able to run through the shows, how much time per week are you having to prepare, knowing that you got the team to just execute this from your end?
So we do like a Monday morning quarterback where the whole marketing team goes through and says like what worked, what didn't work, what can we improve on, what do we have planned out for the week, and so that's like an hour. And then I typically am spending another 2 hours in prep because I still want to make sure the main video is good. Many times, like if I have a guest on some of the other channels that we have, I need to prepare to make sure I've got good questions and I know this person. And then doing the video shooting is another 3 hours. So maybe I'm spending 6 to 7 hours a week in content, and the rest of it is on the business.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of team stuff. Are there a couple of mistakes you made that you could share across? One or two mistakes that you're like, damn, I shouldn't have done that, or that took you off base, knowing that now what's running? Anything that you can share for an up and coming rising creator avatar?
Yeah, I think so. My early on, it was on my channel. I was trying to do all types of stuff. I was doing theme park content. I was doing real estate content, and YouTube is very smart in that like it'll kind of pigeonhole you. So Mr. Beast picked the biggest niche there is, which is just entertainment. Like if you want to be entertained, you are a potential Mr. Beast subscriber. I'm not trying to entertain people because I'm not per se like I'm not trying to entertain the world. I'm trying to get people that are moving to Orlando. And so, Darren, have you ever taken your kids to your family to Disney or Universal?
We go on the West Coast side,
Oh,
but
okay. So like you Disneyland or Universal, I guess. So you have, right? And so maybe you're interested in potentially content that would cover that before you go to get the best experience. But if I was also doing theme park content, talking about Disneyland on one video, and then the next video up was a home tour, that wouldn't feel right to you as a subscriber. Well, YouTube knows this. And so every time like I would try to do theme park content meets real estate meets other things, like my views were like nothing because YouTube didn't know where to place me. And so understanding that it's okay to go very niche and say, no, I'm going to do videos on these three cities and go very deep in my listing tours and my neighborhood tours. And yes, I might get fewer views, but YouTube's going to find the right people for me because the algorithm's that smart. And so that's probably the biggest mistake that I made. And then I mean, I was always pretty consistent from an early standpoint, but I have taken like, I'm gonna let me take this month off and let's see what happens. And then all of a sudden, views and leads and all the things start slowing down. And so I think it is staying super consistent and picking your niche. And if you do those things, you will do well.
would you say YouTube likes the consistency too, not just the viewer?
It
Is that
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you ended up landing the official real estate partner for Orlando Magic. Like, come on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's insane. And because of your media presence, or did you do also a heck of a lot of traditional networking to get to that position because of it? Or do you really attribute it just to how much presence you've created online?
Yeah, I mean, like it is a sponsorship, so it's a bit of a pay to play, but the relationship that came out of it was like all of the guys on the sales staff know our content. And so they were like, "Hey, can we cut you this deal so that you become this?" And we think it'll actually, funny enough, with sports sponsorships, it's very much so a two-way street. They're like, "We know that because of your reach, we're going to get more people talking about the Orlando Magic because you're going to be talking about it." And so, they start, cutting different deals based on what's that partnership actually going to look like. And so now we've got not only are like, do we have the naming rights of like the real estate team of the Orlando Magic, but then also they're doing some content with us. I've gone out and talked to their sales team now and gotten referrals from their sales team because they've got, 40 or 50 people that are selling tickets and stuff like that from corporate side and international. They're referring us business. And so it was a really cool back and forth partnership that way.
Super cool. So if you were starting over now again in 2025 and knowing what you've built in Orlando, no audience, would you go right back into the YouTube world?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fact that this is the thing, going back to Josh earlier, like I stuck with it because I had somebody that I knew did it and it worked.
Yeah.
And so you all listening have the benefit of knowing that there's now hundreds of agents that have done it and it works, if not thousands of agents. And so, yeah, I would go right back to that, knowing that hindsight, I'm going to crush it.
Is there like a 90-day blueprint that you would suggest for somebody, their first 90 to become a YouTube-based content creator that you could kind of like quickly bullet point?
I would say go out and try to put your first video out in the next week. And even if it sucks, press publish, because if you do that, you'll get over the hardest part, which is just like the getting ready to get ready. And I think a lot of agents that's what they do. They like, hey, here when I'm good, this is what my videos will look like instead of I suck, but I put a video out and that's better than most other agents in my market. And then you look back at that video and you say, okay, was I speaking to my ideal avatar? And then what's the 1% better that I can get on every video? YouTube's interesting because you can go back through and it gives you so much data for free. You can go into the analytics and say, like, where did they fall off the video? Where did they rewind the video? Like, it shows you all these things. Where did the traffic come from? What search terms did people put in the search bar in order for my video to show up? There's so much really cool data that it gives you. And so you pick one point of data and say, I want to get a little bit better next time. My thumbnails suck and I'm only getting a 1% click through. I wonder why that is. And then you go Google better thumbnails. Okay, great. My next thumbnail, I'm going to do this. So it's this game, like I mentioned earlier in the show, is just I want to get a little bit better every week. And so if I'm 90-day blueprint would be put your first video out in the next week, even if it sucks, and then continually to improve.
I love it. Here's a fun one. Maybe you haven't thought about this. 5 years from now, what does this media first real estate team look like? How could, you've seen what's changed in five. I know you got to run, but 5 years from now, what could you see? Have you conceptualized where this could be?
Yeah, I think storytelling is still, I think, the eighth wonder of the world. I think it's something that moves people to buy or not to buy, to sell with you or not to sell with you. And so, although AI is amazing and we're doing some very cool things with it, I think that people are going to lean in and be able to, they want more human experiences. And so, we are leaning into how do we make our audience members feel like they're part of something. And so whether that's locally doing events based on content or not, that's gonna be one. Two, I think more episodic content. You've seen like accounts like Brooklyn Coffee Shop and some other ones that they're more of these series. I think we're going to lean into that a little bit more as people are looking at sort of the Netflixification of a lot of things, and a lot more brands becoming media companies. So I think we're poised really well to do that. And so now it's just taking it up a notch.
You think you go wider? You go outside of Orlando too?
And I don't. That's the question we always are asked is like, do we go to Tampa? It's only an hour away. Do we go to, Jacksonville? It's only 3 hours away. I just, man, we will sell 600 plus houses this year, and it's still only like a half of 1% of all the houses in Orlando. So I feel like we could get to like 2,500 units before I might really seriously consider moving outside of the five county area.
I love the constraint that you're willing to share on that because that's just a path forward that allows mastery. And you're already, for most of us, on this insane mastery path. So I love that you're doing that, and you can see the light through the current body, but just expanded without having to like stretch and deploy elsewhere. Because you and I know that could derail pretty quickly.
Man, it really can.
Amazing. And I know you need to run. I know you've run off. So I really appreciate the time. I could have gone deeper and deeper. I hope people feel like crazy inspired by the journey. Finding you is not hard, but where do you point people when somebody just wants to just kind of like tag along for the journey?
Yeah, Instagram, my personal account is Ken Pozek at Ken Pozek. So I appreciate you following along.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll let you get off, and I can't wait to see you
Thanks, man.
sometime soon. And yeah, good luck at the meeting. We'll talk again. I appreciate
Thanks,
you
man.
so much.
Be well. Bye.
All right, let me pull this all together because this is the third of our Creator Avatars series. We've now looked through a few different lenses. Jesse out there in Winnipeg showed us that this community first but video connection that he created one by one works. We've had Noel speak to us out with about this kind of world builder, this conviction based, value based set of media works. And Ken just gave us this creator operator blueprint and what it looks like to be the architect of a massive media machine that can support what he shared was a 400 million volume team, 600 deals per year, on pace for 2,500 and a few with 31 agents. Here is what they all have in common that I wanted to share. They're obsessed with serving their city and all things city, not just promoting themselves. A lot different than most agents. They've built real systems behind the scenes so that their content doesn't become this trap for them. Because even today, Ken talked about the creator burnout. And they've each chosen a lane that actually fits who they are. They're all different. If you see yourself in any of these, if you feel this pull towards being a creator avatar, your next step isn't for me to say, oh, go copy Ken's blueprint or Noel's or Jesse's social savviness. Your next step is just creating some clarity. I've spoken about this off. What lane are you going to own? What city or story are you going to narrate? And what systems will keep creativity from burning you out? So, this type of stuff is exactly what I speak about inside of ROAM. This is where we unpack the seven C's, the success triangle, the core four, and all these episodes, how we unpack them and then go further with worksheets and also sometimes with live master classes as well to further go deep down on this. So if you wanted to, again, take part, all you got to do is now you're going to darrenlangille.com, DARRENLANGILLE, and you'll get directed to join ROAM. And this is my free resource hub for all these things. So I would love to have you in there, consuming, building, taking out on the worksheets, joining us for the next workshop, which we call master classes. Ken, you're amazing. Thank you. I know you've already had to leave. Thanks for opening up the hood under your machine. And to everybody listening, don't just create for the sake of creating. The topic for today was more or less create an architecture for the creation that you want to have. Thank you so much. Have a great day.